Allah is my heart's speech. Your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And welcome to Ask Huda. I'm your host, Fuad Muhammad. We're happy to welcome today on the show as well, Dr. Mohamed Salah. Assalamu alaikum, Doctor.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khairan, Fuad. And thank you so much.
Just a quick reminder of our telephone numbers, 00-202-38555, 248 or 249, or you can send us an email at ask, that's ask@huda.tv. And just a quick reminder for the viewers, please be short and precise when asking your questions so that we can give the doctor more time in answering more questions, inshallah. Doctor, we have a question here from Brother Muhammad from UAE, and he said, is dua after the Fard Salah in congregation from the Sunnah?
Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala nabiyhi wa mustafah Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Thumma amma ba'd. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us in the Quran to invoke Him on regular basis, to ask Him for whatever is little or big. He said, "Ud'uni astajib lakum." Qala rabbukum ud'uni astajib lakum. And a dua is the topmost part of worship. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Ad-du'a'u huwa al-ibadah." Dua is the ibadah or worship itself. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam taught us that if you ever need any help, or if you want to ask for anything, even if it is very small or very big, then you should only ask it from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you ever ask, you should only ask from Allah. If you ever seek help, you should only seek the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Furthermore, An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam explained to us there are some favorite times, best times with regards to making dua, where the dua, if it has been offered and supplicated by a person whose earning is lawful, who has been fed from lawful earning, their dua is most likely to be accepted, such as making dua in the last 1/3 of the night, or especially at the sahar time, right before Fajr. Making dua or invoking Allah while in a state of prostration. And this prostration is not independent. Some people, after they finish the salah, they make an independent sajda. Why? They say we make dua. That's invalid, because this is an act of innovation. Remember what I said from the very beginning. I said, a dua is not just some sort of worship. It is the best form of worship. It is the topmost part of ibadah. So if I'm going to do it, then I have to do it in the same format that the Prophet ﷺ either did or approved. So if somebody is praying with a fard or nafl, it is recommended to make dua in every sajda. In every sajda. Some people prefer in every dua, in every sajda, to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep them firm and steadfast on the straight path. That's a praiseworthy dua, obviously. Some people ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless them with a goodly offspring or a goodly spouse. That's perfectly fine for dunya or deen. Also, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that at the time of breaking your fast, this is one of the best times to make dua. And the best day ever to make dua is the day of Arafah. Then following to that is every Friday. Since the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, on every Friday there is one time or 1 hour where the dua is most likely to be accepted. The ulama differ which time is it, whether while the imam is on the minbar or between the two khutbahs or after or at asr or before maghrib. So there are specific times that the Prophet ﷺ encouraged us and motivated us to increase making dua during, while performing tawaf, after returning from the Arafah towards Muzdalifah, then towards Mina, etc. Or is amongst those times or favorite times after the congregational prayer to make congregational dua? Of course not. But if somebody after making salah, whether fard or nafl, made dua, is it permissible? Yes, it is permissible, because we say it is permissible to make dua at any say time. But with regards to the best times, they have been appointed and named by the Prophet ﷺ. So if I choose a specific time, like after a specific salah, fard or nafl, and I say it is best to make dua after this time, and I adhere to that, and I encourage people to do dua at this time, whether singular or in congregation. Now I'm adding something new. This is it's like a hair. It is as thin as a hair that differentiates and distinguishes between the sunnah and the bid'ah. The bid'ah is not necessarily, or the innovation is not necessarily doing something that it was not done in the past. No. It is doing something that the Prophet ﷺ that had prescribed and encouraged us to do, but in a certain different format, or specifying a certain time to give it a priority, or to make it a favorite time to make this specific act of worship, which has been prescribed, but not at this time. So I would say, it is permissible to make dua after fard or nafl, but not to take it as a sunnah or a tradition, and not to do it in congregation on a regular basis. Wallahu a'lam.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. We have Brother Mohammed from Sierra Leone. Assalamu alaikum, brother. You're live and ask their questions, please.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Yes, I've asked this question twice, but I haven't got any answer as yet.
Okay, what is the question, brother?
It has become the norm in our culture.
Okay, Brother Mohammed, just before you continue, can you please turn the volume of your television set down?
Okay, I do that. Yes. It has become the norm in our country. When somebody wants to celebrate his birthday, he invites friends to join in to show sign of gratitude.
Okay, Brother Mohammed,
reading Quran.
We have that question for today's show. We have that question on today's show, Brother Mohammed. It's going to be answered, inshallah. Just stay tuned to us, inshallah, and we'll be answering that question. That's Brother Mohammed there from Sierra Leone. And a quick reminder to the viewers, please turn down the volume of your television set down when calling on the program. Brother Mohammed from UAE, his second question, he said, Dr. Mohammed, how can we differentiate between a normal, and he said normal sheikh and a scholar? He wants to know, if he wants to clarify a doubtful matter, whom should he go to?
The word sheikh in Arabic covers various meanings. First of all, with regards to age, a person who reaches senility or an old age, like in the Quran, it says, وَهَذَا بَعْلِي شَيْخًا, and my husband is an old man, when he was told that his wife would conceive. So it is a bit difficult to imagine somebody reached the age of 80 or so and his wife would conceive from him. So whenever a person reaches a very old age or senility, he is called sheikh. Also, it means a tribal leader, sheikh al-qabila. And it also means a person who acquired a great deal of knowledge so that he has followers, sheikh al-tariqa. And he has students, seekers of knowledge, who learn from him. So Imam Abu Hanifa, for instance, was a sheikh for all of his students, whether those who acquired knowledge from him directly or indirectly, those who are studying from his knowledge and his teachings afterward. So the word sheikh, if it is directed towards the person who is knowledgeable enough to teach others, now we will give some furthermore specifications, such as the difference between a sheikh and a da'iyah and a mufti or a scholar. First of all, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ, and above every knowledgeable one, there is one who is more knowledgeable. No one can claim that he mastered all the different fields of sciences or religious knowledge. That's not possible. It is, every human being has a limited capacity. You can be very knowledgeable, but not to the extent that you know everything. And that's why we find in many masail that the biggest scholars would say, I don't know. Like Imam Malik said to many questions, said, I don't know. While we say that Imam Malik, as long as he was alive, no one was permitted to give fatwa, as long as he was in Al-Madinah. لا يفتوى مالك في المدينة. But we find him says, I don't know. And similarly, that have happened with so many scholars, of those who are true scholars. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ, and above every knowledgeable one, there is one who is more knowledgeable. You find someone who is expert in this particular category of religious knowledge. We're now talking about religious sciences. We're not talking about math or chemistry or pharmacology. So he's good in the science of hadith, or he's good in the science of tafsir, or science of Quranic dialect and tajweed, right? It does not automatically give him the power of giving fatwa in different fields of science which he does not have enough knowledge about it.
Yes.
So one has to understand the speciality of each person, like exactly in medicine, that if you're having a migraine, then you go to a GP. Then he says, you know, I'm going to transfer you or redirect you to such and such speciality, because he might think that there is furthermore investigation needs to be done. That's not his speciality, it's not his area.
Yes.
So a general sheikh who's sitting in the masjid, who's a local imam, would answer within the capacity of his knowledge, whether he is following a particular madhab or he studied comparative fiqh. Every sheikh and every scholar, no matter how much is the amount of their knowledge, is a da'iyah by nature. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered every believer to be a da'iyah. So what about a person who has some sort of knowledge, religious knowledge? But it is not the other way around. And this is what we need to warn people against. Not because I kept a long beard and I started wearing a thawb and maybe wearing a turban or going for khuruj or doing a halqa, that would give me the power of giving fatwa. Many people feel embarrassed when somebody approaches them and says, Sheikh, I have this problem, or I divorced my wife, and I said, Wallahi, if you don't do this, you'll be divorced. And he is not a sheikh. He did not study any chapter of fiqh. He does not understand anything about the marital fiqh relationship or the fiqh of marital relations. So he would say, according to what he heard, he say, you know, I think it is like that. And if the questioner is kind of clever or slicky and he says, you know what, I divorced my wife 3 times, but Sheikh, I was angry and I have 4 kids. So this person with lack of knowledge in this particular area would feel pity for him and would say, okay, but don't do that again. And as a matter of fact, give sadaqah or give any charity and Allah will forgive you. You don't get it. You're just making a Muslim having an illegitimate relationship with a woman in bed, committing adultery, producing children out of adultery because of your being naive, because of being ignorant. There is nothing wrong to say, I don't know. It's as simple as that. Shall I throw myself in fire in order to please you? Of course not. So that's why the dua themselves have to understand that it is not a shame to say, I don't know. And they have to understand that giving an answer is a big liability and a big responsibility. What if it is not as you said? What if you have relied on a hadith which is proven to be fabricated? What would be the consequences if you give a fatwa to somebody, then this person is not from town, was a traveler? Or the very general case when we meet people in Hajj, and they ask you some very strange questions. So this person happened to see you once, and he asked you because he was sitting next to you, he saw you wearing a turban and with a big beard. So you were ashamed or shy to say, I don't know, you give him a fatwa. Then a few minutes later, you heard the Sheikh in the Haram was talking about the same subject. You lent an attentive ear to the Sheikh, and you recognize that, guess what? You just messed up. He gave him a fatwa which was totally the opposite. Now we need to look forward for this person to tell him I was wrong. Where will you find him? What if this person did not ask anybody else but you, and he goes home and he says to his people in village, I asked the Sheikh in the Haram. The word the Haram itself is very attractive. He asked the Sheikh in the Haram, that means he asked the Imam of the Haram.
Subhanallah.
And people would take it for granted. So can you imagine the liability of giving an answer to a question which you have no knowledge about? Only ignorant people would volunteer to give an answer even if they do not know. The true scholars would say, I don't know, with pride, with being very proud, because we don't know. It's a fact. Akhi, is there anyone who's much more knowledgeable than the Prophet ﷺ? No. Yet the Prophet ﷺ said, I don't know. And this answer cost him a lot, but he was still persistent to say, I don't know. When the Meccans delegated 3 individuals to Al-Madinah to inquire from the Jewish rabbis about Muhammad, whether he's a true prophet or not, and they presented 3 questions. Then they returned to the Prophet ﷺ asking about the answer to the 3 questions. And they said, look, if you know the answer, we will follow you. But if you don't, then you're a liar. The Prophet ﷺ, as a human being, was very anxious to hear the answer in order to give, to hear the questions in order to give the answer. Why? so that they gave a promise. If the Prophet ﷺ were to answer them rightly, they would follow him. But when they presented the questions, it was about things in the past. Dhul Qarnayn, the young man who hid in the cave, and about the knowledge of the unseen, which is ar-ruh, the soul or the spirit. He said, I don't know, but sure I will give you the answer tonight or tomorrow, expecting Jibreel alayhi salam to come with the answer. 15 days, the Jibreel alayhi salam did not visit him at all. And every day Abu Jahl would come deliberately to embarrass him and say, what happened to your friend? Doesn't he show up anymore? Talking about Jibreel alayhi salam. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam did not think of making up an answer. I don't know. It's as simple as that. Jibreel didn't come. And when Jibreel alayhi salam came, and the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, what took you so long? He said, وَمَا نَتَنَزَّلُ إِلَّا بِأَمْرِ رَبِّكَ. Even Jibreel alayhi salam, he would only come or go by the leave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What about this? And malaika, the angels, who are the chosen creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم ويفعلون ما يؤمرون. They said, we don't know. أنبئوني بأسماء هؤلاء إن كنتم صادقين. Allah asked them, what are the names of those items? If you're truly telling the truth. They said what? سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا. We have no knowledge except what you have taught us. So one should not hesitate to say, I don't know, even if people trust him so much, even if he is very well respected amongst his people. There is a difference between the true scholar and a person who is acting. And every person, once starts the da'wah business, have to realize that I'm not qualified to speak about everything in religion, because there is a vast ocean of knowledge, religious knowledge.
Yes.
Just yesterday, Sheikh Yusuf and I visited one of the local scholars. He had literally tons of books. When and how can any person read 1/10 of all of that? This is just to give you a glimpse of how vast is the knowledge, and this is nothing comparing to all the religious knowledge. So these are some main and major differences between a sheikh and a da'iyah and a mufti, and Allah knows best.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. We have brother Abu Ridwan from India. Assalamu alaikum, brother. You're live and ask with your questions, please.
Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, Aba Ridwan.
Yeah, how are you, Sheikh?
Alhamdulillah wa shukrillah. How about yourself?
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine. I want to ask my last episode question. I asked about the ruh, about the soul. Yes,
Did you get the question?
No, can you repeat the question quickly, brother Abu Ridwan?
Excuse me?
Can you repeat the question?
About the soul, about the ruh.
Ar-ruh, yeah.
What do you want to know about the soul, brother Abu Ridwan?
Okay, I guess I remember your question. You were inquiring about whether the soul...
Our area...
Go ahead.
Yes, in our area there is some misconception that when the ruh, some people die, the ruh come back, and if the person is killed or murdered, they take the revenge and all that. So I have to get clarified with this.
No, this is not true. In the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, this is a lengthy hadith, so I'll just take the last part of 2 segments of it. Whether the soul is the soul of a believer or a disbeliever. If it is the soul of a believer, after the angels would take it and elevate all the way to heavens, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, اكتبوا روح عبدي في عليين. This is a record in heaven, and take it back to earth. منها خلقناكم وفيها نعيدكم ومنها نخرجكم تارة أخرى. And will be returned back to the body for the question and so on, the person who's been buried in the grave. The opposite will be with the disbeliever, or the soul of a disbeliever or a wicked person. Meaning that the soul would not be still in another body, whether this body is a body of a human or an animal or a cat or a dog. This idea is not in Islam, and it would not be presented. A person may see a dead person in a dream, but his soul would not come around to wander and visit the people. That's not true.
Okay, Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Sister Annie from the UAE asked, she said she and her husband were married for 8 years, and her husband has separated from her for 3 months now and refuses to give her a divorce. What can she do in this situation?
Okay, so he is boycotting her for 3
months.
3 months. As I normally say, the marital problems and problems between the couple really have to be discussed in the presence of the two parties, the couple. Because we don't know why he's boycotting her, why he's not being dealing with her as normal or regular. The Quran says, وَاللَّاتِ تَخَافُونَ نُشُوزَهُنَّ فَعِظُوهُنَّ وَاهْجُرُوهُنَّ فِي الْمَضَاجِعِ وَاضْرِبُوهُنَّ فَإِنْ أَطَعْنَكُمْ فَلَا تَبْغُوا عَلَيْهِنَّ سَبِيلًا, Surah An-Nisa. So there is one of the treatment which is al-hajj, or deserting one's wife in bed, not to have an intimate relationship with her until she is back on track, or she behaves, or whatever. And also if the husband is misbehaving and showing improper attitude, there is also a solution for that. So we cannot tell whose fault is it and why is he doing such thing. But we understand that the Quran talked about something that's called al-ila, where a person swears not to have an intimate relationship with his wife. So we say, لِلَّذِينَ يُؤْلُونَ مِن نِسَائِهِمْ تَرَبُّصُوا أَرْبَعَةِ أَشْهُرٍ. In this case, that the latest period for al-ila, 4 months.
Yes.
After that, the case will be taken to court for a judge to separate them if the husband does not resume the sexual or intimate relationship, because as well as a man, they have needs, also the wife have needs. So if the husband deserts her without right, that the judge would impose on him to resume the marriage life on regular basis, or otherwise will separate them. So as I said, it is hard to say what is the cause of the problem and how it could be solved. I always advise, whether here or abroad in the West, before taking a case to a civil court and seeking the judgment of any law other than the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, consult a local imam and see where is the problem. If we do that, then we're complying with the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in which He says, فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ حَتَّى يُحَكِّمُوكَ فِيمَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ ثُمَّ لَا يَجِدُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَرَجًا مِمَّا قَضَيْتَ وَيُسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا. It's a sign of faith and strength of iman to seek the judgment of Allah in the Quran and in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ concerning any conflict, especially marriage conflicts. So present your case before a local imam who knows both of you, or at least both of you will be sitting with a third person, or a wise person, a wise arbitrator from your family and another from his family, in order to sort this case according to the Quran and the Sunnah.
We have Brother Omar from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum, brother. You're live and ask all your questions, please.
Wa alaikum salam. Sheikh, good morning, good evening, sir.
Assalamu alaikum, Omar.
Wa alaikum salam, Sheikh. I want to ask about this Mawlud.
Okay.
We have in Nigeria, northern Nigeria, a lot of people are celebrating, and I want to know the Islamic point of view.
Okay. Jazakallah khair, Brother Omar there from Nigeria. Sister Muhammad from Egypt, she has a lengthy question, but the gist of her question is that she has a 16-year-old son who's an excellent story writer, and he was approached by the father of his friend, who is a director, to write the script for a film. But when she tries to tell him about that the possibility of being in the film uncovered woman and other prohibition, he replies by saying that he's not responsible for the film, he's just responsible for what he writes. Please advise.
Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Ma'idah, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. This ayah is big-time Islamic maxims with regards to doing so many things, and fiqh maxim. It explains the following, and the divine command in this ayah means, and help one another in achieving what's righteous and what's good, and do not help nor assist one another in doing anything that's evil or a form of transgression, whether transgression against others or against Allah's hudud. Before I walk into the studio, I was speaking to somebody who was playing a part in some movies. He's a very good person, and the part which he plays, he does not involve himself in any haram. But this is what he thought. I said, no, by playing a role, even if your role is innocent, in a whole movie, which the movie includes women, music, and whatever Allah prohibited, you're being a part of that. You embark on a ship that is full of wickedness.
Yes.
And you should avoid that completely. This maxims would lead us to understand why is it prohibited to work even as a guard in a bank or in a bar. I'm not drinking, nor am I serving. I'm just working as a guard. I open the door. Or as a waiter, or waitresses, or a host. It is not permissible. Even if you're fixing anything in the bar, that is not permissible because you're assisting. You know, according to fiqh and usul al-fiqh, there is one of the proofs which the scholars rely on passing rulings concerning contemporary things, which is known as saddu al-dhara'i'. Saddu al-dhara'i', blocking the means. Anything that leads to haram, we should block it. We should avoid it. Accordingly said, it is not permissible for anyone who grows grapes to sell it to somebody or to a factory who knows that they will squeeze it and they will make wine out of it. If everybody who has grape field says, I ain't selling you any grapes, so they will end up not producing wine. If every believer takes care of his responsibility, this is how people would realize that they're being boycotted by the entire community. So, if your story will end up in a movie, and you know what movies are all about, then you are a part of that. Instead, involve yourself and explore your talents and your hobbies in something that is useful. We would love to see books created by and stories created by talented people like you, attracting the youth and the children in the field of the life of the companions. And if you embark on this field of writing, Islamic writings, you will be very successful, you will be very beneficial to yourself and to the entire society. Not only that, this is one of the avenues, one of the revenues through which you will continuously earn thawab after your death. As the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, أَوْ عِلْمٍ يُنْتَفَعُ بِهِ, or leaving behind a useful knowledge. But every actor and every actress, every singer, every musician, every person who played a role in something that's haram, they die and the meter is still counting against them sins and bad deeds for every person who watches that or who hears that. He's committing a sin, and the person who introduced that to them is committing the same sin as well. So I would really encourage you to redirect your talent to something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves, and it is approved by Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Okay, we have Brother Adhar from the United Kingdom. Assalamu alaikum, brother. You're live on Ask Huda. Your questions, please.
Wa alaikum assalam. Sheikh, my question is about salah. Between two sajda times, do you have to raise our finger like we do in tashahhud? This is a sunnah of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, raising the finger during two sajda times.
Azhar, you're talking about pointing the index finger between the two sajdas, not in tashahhud, right?
No, in tashahhud, no, in two sajdas.
No, it is not a sunnah. According to the best opinion, it is not a sunnah to raise the finger or point the finger between the two sajdas, in the sitting between the two sajdas, in other than the first and the second tashahhud. Wallahu a'lam.
Okay, Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. We'll take a short break here on Ask Huda, and we'll be back right after this. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The deeds are bound by its intentions. The deeds that we do, we have to have a sincere intentions that we're doing it only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have the best definitions of things, the right vision, the criteria in which we would get to know what is right and what is wrong through the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The tafsir of the Quran is to explain, is to interpret the best words, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
trying to get together, but all their efforts were in vain because of ignoring or turning away from this great foundation. We see many people coming to the way of truth, following the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but later on, they get off track. What is the reason behind that? Unity is a result. It's not a cover-up. We have to be united from inside. And Allah made this clear in the Quran when He said, وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. You're still watching Ask Huda. Quick reminder of our telephone numbers 00-223-8555, 248 or 249, or you can send us an email at ask, that's ask@huda.tv. We have Brother Majid from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Assalamu alaikum, brother. You're live on Ask Huda. Your questions, please.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم
السلام ماجد ورحمة الله.
How are you, Sheikh Mohamed Salah?
Alhamdulillah. How are you, brother?
Actually, I don't speak English very well. I want. Can I speak Arabic?
I guess you're doing well. ما شاء الله.
أنا صراحة أود أن أتكلم يعني أكون داعي باللغة الإنجليزية. كنت أبحث عن الشيخ رقم الشيخ محمد صالح وعندي هم يعني أنا أدعو باللغة الإنجليزية. يعني ودي إني تعطيني خطوات يعني حتى أمشي عليها يعني.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I can't speak English very well.
But Akhi, you speak English, mashallah, very well. I think it's just the lack of self-confidence, maybe, inshallah.
Inshallah, Majid, try to take the number from the control, please.
Okay. That's Brother Majid there from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We have a question here from Brother Muhammad from Sierra Leone, and he is asking about celebrating birthdays. Can we do it Islamically? And he said, I just call friends, say thanks to Allah, and share food at the end of this gathering. And also if you can merge this with the question we have from Umar as well from Nigeria about celebrating the Prophet's birthday.
That's a good move from you that you join the two questions together because they are relevant. First of all, it is very important to understand the history behind anything that is in a conflict with the Sharia. We all know that with regards to the Prophet's birthday, that neither him nor his companions, the first, the second, the third, or the fourth, or the fifth generation, none of them have celebrated the Prophet's birthday. Is this an indication that they were negligent of the Prophet's greatness? Obviously not. No one today can claim that they love the Prophet ﷺ more than Abu Bakr, or Umar, or Uthman, or Ali, or At-Tabi'in. Any person would claim that he loves the Prophet ﷺ more than them is a liar, is a plain liar. Those companions and their followers did not only, or they were not only willing to sacrifice everything, they did. Some sacrificed their entire wealth, some sacrificed their relationship with their families, some sacrificed their lives for the sake of Allah and His Prophet ﷺ. And while today those who are involved in those activities are not willing to sacrifice a couple of 20 minutes of sleep to get up to pray Fajr and go back to bed, or sacrifice working in haram or earning unlawfully to please Allah or His Prophet ﷺ, but they make certain to celebrate the Prophet's birthday and celebrate by distributing halwas and sweet and all of that. We all know that who invented this celebration? You'll be surprised. It was the Fatimites in Egypt when they occupied Egypt. And the Fatimites are amongst the worst categories of Shia.
SubhanAllah.
Exactly. And you really have to spend some time to learn about Al-Mu'izz Lidin al-Fatimi and his party. And why they have invented this celebration? Because they were rejected by Egyptians. So that's why they wanted to soften their hearts and establish some sort of a bond between them and Egyptians. So they made sure to celebrate the Prophet's birthday, and not only that, the birthdays of all the family members of the Prophet ﷺ in Egypt, whether they're in Egypt or not. They made up celebrations. And they would involve the whole nation in parties and dancing and singing and considering this religious celebrations. So that was the beginning. Later on, when the French occupied Egypt, they followed up on the same path. You know that Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, may Allah have mercy on him, when he conquered Egypt Islamically afterward and when he established his rule, the first thing he did, he shut down Al-Azhar completely because it was built to spread the Shia school of thought, the Shia ideology. And he canceled all those celebrations, the Prophet's birthday and all those celebrations. You know, they celebrate the Hussein's birthday in Egypt. While Al-Hussein, we all know that he died in Iraq. I guess you'll have to take this phone call and we'll resume, inshallah.
Yes, inshallah, because it's Sister Mona all the way from Denmark. Assalamu alaikum, sister. You're live and ask other questions, please.
Wa alaikum salam, brother. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, sister?
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine. And my question is to the Sheikh. And my question is, and you know, in Islam, and when you have kids, when you give birth to kids, you have to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice. And then, us Muslims in Western, some of us have been westernized, kind of. And then we forget about our cultures and religions. Astaghfirullah, may Allah forgive us. And I have 3 kids, and we've never sacrificed for our kids.
Okay.
Yeah, what can I do?
Okay, got it. Jazakallah khair. Sister Mona there from Denmark. We also have Sister Marwa from Egypt. Assalamu alaikum, sister. You're live and ask her your questions, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And I want to thank you for really for bringing the subject of the celebration of Prophet's birthday, as they claim, because I pray to God that one day we will see all this stuff disappear from Egypt, hopefully.
That's
and my question is, I really want to learn about the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I can't pick a certain book which is suitable for me, or I do have 2 books in my late father's library.
What are they?
One of them is the most known, which is the Sirat ibn Hisham, and the other one is the Khatam al-Nabiyin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Imam Muhammad Abu Zahra. And I just want to know from Sheikh Muhammad which one to pick, and Jazakumullah khairan.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. Sister Marwa there from Egypt. Yeah. We also have Brother Sayyid from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Assalamu alaikum. Brother, you're live and ask other questions, please.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, Sheikh?
How are you, Brother Sayyid? Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. I'm fine, Mr. Salah. It's a personal question in regards to dawah. I am an IT professional and I sell computers for a lot of people. I came across a missionary called Reaching the Unreached in India. These people are cornering our Muslim brothers, especially the weak in Islam. And they are giving them money and they are giving them some kind of courses. And later on, when the time passes, our brothers, Muslim brothers and sisters, they are converting to Christianity. I found 5 of these groups in India, especially in Tamil Nadu. So how do we reach to these poor people, our poor Muslim brothers who have no Islamic knowledge?
Okay. Quite sad there from Brother Syed there from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. If, Doctor, you can continue on the point you were making about the birthdays.
So we've concluded that neither the Prophet ﷺ nor his beloved companions or the followers nor the followers of the followers have even thought of this idea because it doesn't belong to the deen. Rather, when Rabi'a ibn Ka'b al-Aslami, may Allah be pleased with him, who loved the Prophet ﷺ so much, to the extent that Nabi ﷺ once offered him and said, Ya Rabi'a Sanni, how can I reward you? So Rabi'a ibn Ka'b al-Aslami, may Allah be pleased with him, seized this opportunity and he said, Ya Rasulullah, أسألك مرافقتك في الجنة. Why do we love the Prophet? Because he guided us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who gives us salvation. It is Allah who saves us on the Day of Judgment. So that should be sought from Allah. So he said, Ya Rasulullah, I would like to be with you in heaven. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, don't you have any other request? He said, no, this is it. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is not the one who have vouchers that he can distribute to people and say, okay, I'll take you with me to heaven because you love me so much. He said, okay, then Ya Rabi'ah, إذن فأعني على نفسك بكثرة السجود. Help me out. In order to achieve your goal, in order to enter heaven with me, you have to help me out. How? By making much of sujood. Much of sujood. Everybody makes sujood with the fard. So that was pertaining the nafl. Pray, offer much nawafil. Because the fard, inshallah, will secure you to enter heaven. But competing with each other with regards to nawafil and praying at night and so on, that will raise you in ranks in order to be with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These are the acts that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam approved in order to demonstrate the true love. قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونِ قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِ يُحْبِبُكُمُ اللَّهُ وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ وَاللَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. So the best demonstration of love is to follow strictly the guidance of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and not to do anything that he either disapproved or did not do. Those who are involved in those celebrations, maybe they don't even pray. Or they're shaved clean, and their wives are wearing mini skirts, but we love the Prophet. We have to distribute sweet. Guess what? Even if you're a Sharif or you're a Sayyid, as many people like to call themselves, even if you are a direct descent of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Man abta'a bihi amaluhu, lam yusri' bihi nasabu." It is not this celebration which will take you to heaven. No, it is your good deeds complying with the commands and abstaining from the prohibitions. Even if you are a direct member of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that is not sufficient to be saved. Didn't he say to Fatima radiyallahu ta'ala anha wa ardaha, اعملي فإني لا أغني عنك من الله شيئا. We love to celebrate the Prophet's prophethood and birthday on every single, not year, nor month, nor week or day, on every single moment of our life, by following strictly his guidance sallallahu alayhi wasallam. This is our rescue boat. Sister Anne was asking about the jama'ah, and whether the jama'ah means the majority. No, it does not necessarily mean the majority, because otherwise most of people are being misled. Rather, al-jama'ah could be one person. What is the proof to that? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in hadith al-Irbad ibn Sariyah, when he said that, when he gave the prophecy that later on there will be a great deal of controversy and a lot of fitan and innovations, the companions asked him, Ya Rasulullah, so what is the way out? What is the solution? He said, عليكم بسنتي وسنة الخلفاء الراشدين المهديين عضوا عليها بالنواجذ. Adhere to my traditions. This is the rescue boat. This is how you save yourself. And he said, when he talked about the various parties which will go astray, 73 sects will erect from this ummah. Only one party will be saved. Obviously, every party would claim, this is us. Shia said the same, Qadiani said the same, Baha'i said the same, Khawarij said the same. And that's why the companions asked the Prophet ﷺ this most important question. And they said, Ya Rasulullah, which party will be saved? He did not give it a name, Fuad. He did not say such and such. Or they will be named so and so. No. Otherwise, every group would adopt this name. And the 73 parties would have the same name.
Of course.
Rather, he gave an attribute, characteristics. How would they look like? What do they do? He said, those whom they will be following whatever I'm following today and my companions. Is it hidden? The doctrine of the Prophet ﷺ, his seerah, his guidance, is it hidden? Is it concealed? Is it like in Christianity, only certain people, or Judaism, only certain people are allowed to look at it? There are no secrets in the deen. Sister Marwa from Egypt were inquiring about what is the best source of learning about the seerah. If you're a beginner if you're an average class seeker of knowledge, the best is the beautiful summary of the seerah by Safi Rahman al-Mubarak Kafuri, may Allah have mercy on him, which is called the Seal Nectar or Al-Rahiq al-Maktoum, Arabic, English, Urdu, and several other languages. One volume. Once you cover this and you're fully aware of it, now we can move to an upgrade. I highly recommend for any person who wants to know and learn his deen to study thoroughly the beautiful book of Ibn al-Qayyim, which is known as Zad al-Ma'ad, the provision of the traveler, or the hereafter. This is an excellent book. Now they have a summary of this book in English. It will be sufficient if you are an English reader. But in Arabic, is an excellent book. So stick to that in studying the seerah, without going into the details of different narrators and narrations and all of that. These are two best references I would advise. If you want to celebrate the Prophet's birthday, you can do that on a daily basis. Every time when you go home, gather your children and say, today we're going to study one hadith of Riyadh al-Salihin. The Prophet will love you most, more than those who are making only one day. Why did he specify the 12th of Rabi' al-Awwal? Guess what? He was born on the 9th, not the 12th. And this is the best and the most accurate. There are various dates. And that's why when Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu ardah gathered the great companions and Ahl Badr in order to decide, they wanted to have a beginning date for the Islamic calendar.
Yes.
So some suggested the Prophet's birthday, some suggested his prophethood, and some suggested his death, and some suggested. So they finally agreed to the Hijrah, because it was known as when did it take place versus his birth and the prophethood, various dates. They did not keep record at this time. So when you choose a specific date, what if it is not that date? That means you missed the date. Why is that? This is the biggest indication. This is an innovation. Anyway, we don't want to occupy ourselves with discussing this matter for so long, because if you truly love the Prophet ﷺ, then show and demonstrate your love not once a year, rather on every single day. Not by eating halwa, not by eating too much food, rather by distributing the food to the poor and the needy ones. Brother Sayyid from Saudi was talking about missionary business in India and everywhere in Africa and in the Muslim countries. He said, what can we do to save them? You're talking about a sect of Muslims who are desperately in need. They're dying of hunger. So if somebody is dying of hunger and his son is in need for some medicine, and you give him a copy of the Quran, would that solve his problem? It's not practical. He doesn't want to hear now about heaven and fire of hell. He wants to eat. And those people are being neglected because many Muslims, rich and wealthy people, are not doing their homework, which is, we're not asking about the voluntary charity or the extra, the basics, the zakah. As long as some rich Muslims are not paying their zakah dues, you will definitely find poor and starving people. But we need to cover and suffice their needs first, then talk to them about the deen. And this is basically what the missionaries do. They feed them, they buy them nice clothes, they send them to school, they treat them, and along with that they give them the Bible. So if we want to compete, we would rather suffice their basic needs first, then talk to them about the religion. Similarly, if we want to give da'wah to non-Muslims, that's why one of the categories of those who are eligible for a zakah is al-mu'allafati qulubuhum.
Okay, Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. I think we're out of time. I would like to say,
if we're out of time, if you allow me, I kept this ring sitting here since the beginning of the program, because I really wanted to thank the sister who donated her own ring. It's a gold ring. She did not find but her ring to support the channel. Many of you brothers and sisters have enjoyed the last episode where we're having Sheikh Yusuf Istis and Dr. Zakir Naik and others. In order to invite any speaker, it costs money. They're not charging us anything, but in order to pay for the tickets, the tickets or the accommodation or whatever. Any speaker, I'm not talking about the speakers who were here recently, because some of them, alhamdulillah, shukla, they do that on their own. But I'm talking about supporting the channel in order to remain on air, in order to produce more programs. Many people ask, why don't we have a new language? We started French, alhamdulillah, wa shukrullah, as well. We'd like to extend it to Dutch and Russian and Chinese and all of that. But in order to cover our basic needs, you brothers and sisters have to play a role in sponsoring programs. The channel is based on sponsorship. Any program that we produce, whether as Huda or any other program, by the leave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, somebody sponsored this program, or even an episode of any program. So we'd like to encourage you brothers and sisters to keep supporting the channel and encourage others to support the channel through sponsoring programs. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you the best for their support. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward that sister there for donating her own ring. For the viewers who would like to support Ask Huda and any other program on Huda TV, you can write to us at support@huda.tv. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
If my love is attached to thee, then from sins I will be free. Each time my heart will beat, your name will resound with heat. Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance and